Welcome to More Business, More Life podcast. Today, my guest is Jovanni Casaus. Once again, back again. I'm so pleased to have him be a part of our business together and all the things that we get to do. And today, we're going to talk about he's about to have his baby girl and become a dad. So that's coming up, and we really want to actually explore the process leading up to being a dad and how he's planning to start his family life and how he's choosing his work-life integration and how he's been able to be there with his life partner through this whole experience, going to all the meetings and even doing research and looking at how did he find time to do all those things and yet still, quote unquote, make money, build business, do those things. Ultimately, how do we choose our life and then start acting on that? We're going to explore all this and more. So let's jump in. All right, Jovanni, here we are again. I'm excited about this episode because we're really talking about life. We talk about more business, more life. And we've created so many things together over the last 5-6 years that we've known each other. And you are literally creating life with your life partner, and a baby is on the way. Like, I think due date's a couple weeks from now when we're recording this. And I think I would love to explore this idea of where you are and how far we've come to where you've created a career, a business, and abundance that is allowing you and your partner to have a baby, and you've been able to, even just before she comes along into your life, you have been able to think about a lot of stuff that I see. And even myself, when I reflect, when my first child was born, my son, I was like just listening to what everyone else said, because both my wife and I were both full-time workers. And so, we didn't give as much time till after our son was born of like all the things. Like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, we could have done this, and we could have done that. And, and I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I mean, we always keep learning. However, I just want to put out there that you've had the time to really invest in what you want to do. So I guess I just wanted to start off with like how you've created this space for you to learn, how you want to bring your baby into this world. And it really is, again, more business and more life. You're really focused on your life first and then build the other things around that. So maybe can you shed some light on how you've gone about this experience of preparing to be a new dad?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I guess it all just begins with really being a horrible worker for other people. Not being a good worker whatsoever. I actually had a client the other day, and I was telling him, like, with my photography, and I was just like, it's so fascinating because everybody's different, and it keeps my interest going. I'm like, I was telling her, I'm like, I was a horrible worker, like showing up late, taking long breaks, leaving when I wasn't supposed to, all sort of stuff. And then starting my own business, photography, meeting you've been a huge influence on the whole, obviously, more business, more life. I always had those thoughts that life isn't about working, but it's more about creating the life that you want. And when I heard you first speak many, many years ago, I was like, boom, yep, that's the words I've been looking for. And the permission, I guess, if you will, because everybody's, go to school, get a job, do this, do that. And so having that flexibility of having my own business and working along with you, like I have, we're able to do more, I guess, alternative styles of even just this up to the pregnancy and whatnot. And so being able to go to appointments with my wife, taking the time off, and if something comes up in the middle of the week, I'm able to restructure as needed and have that flexibility and to be there and or drop things. I don't know. It's just it's Yeah, it's made like the world of difference already. And then even just talking about with you, like, taking time off and time off from my business and whatnot. It's like, yes, we'll take off the time definitely to, focus on this new amazing little human being coming into this world. But also that I have the flexibility that I can create my schedule when I do go back to work, that like I won't be overwhelmed. I can take the time off I need during the middle of the day to be there for my wife as she's recovering and nursing and all this other stuff, and be a big part of it. A lot of people don't know my dad passed away when I was 4 years old, and so um, my wife and I had talked about, in the recent years of throwing the idea around of having kids, but maybe later, like we were actually like a few years or more later, and so for me, I've always wanted to be a dad because my dad passed away when I was younger, right? And so, like this has been a huge, I guess, blessing, if you will, that I have this opportunity, and I'm like super excited, and I'm excited that I have that flexibility to be there for her, like throughout her life from now, pretty much, right? Like I have the knowledge, I have the resources, and I have the ability to, no matter where life takes us, to have that flexibility because we're creating life work integration. And so it's been a process, but I literally couldn't have it any other way. I'm a horrible worker for other businesses and stuff like that. So having the flexibility that I do is a game changer for me for sure.
Well, it's so funny you bring it that way because I remember when I met my mentor, he said that I'm the harder client to have because I was such a worker, like go, 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 go. And he said it's harder to get people like me to delegate, to let go of things. And, and he actually illustrated that when he has clients like you, it's the easiest because you already are looking for the way not to do it. and then you automatically delegate at a quicker pace than other
Yeah.
folks. So, here, this is exact illustration of that because you're always finding that way to delegate or eliminate anything so you could go have more free time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember, and it's funny. I always thought that was a crutch. Like I was like always like a weak point. It's like I'm not a hard worker. Like I see my mom and my brother; they're amazing people and hard workers, and like willing to put the grind in. I just like was never willing to put the grind in. I always thought that was a bad thing. And I mean, to an extent, right? Like you can't be just lazy, and not do anything. But like I think it's a quote from Bill Gates, right? He's like, if you want something done, give it to, I forget how it goes, but give it to like a lazy person because they'll figure out the most efficient way of getting it completed. Something to that
Yeah, you're
effect.
going to find the minimum. And I think the word lazy is used for shock value because it's like, oh, lazy people get things done. But the reality is, it goes back to that choice of like wanting more life. So,
Mm.
if people even think that when I start talking about more business, more life, sometimes they even bring up that word, oh, it's just a lazy individual. But it's not actually. We're getting things done. We're just getting it done more efficiently. And
Yeah.
so the desire to not always be quote unquote at work or in that work mode, if you will. You want to create space in your life to do other things. And I think all of us do. I have met some people and their passion is so much their work that it is a big expression of the time of their life. And that's fine. If that's you and
Mhm.
that's where you want to put your love in life, then do it. But many people, I would say the majority of the people, have other interests, like music or dancing or traveling or, being in nature or working in a garden or like, there's things, or being a parent, being a dad, being a mom. Those things are also part of our life. And what I guess I'm getting at is, instead of calling it lazy, let's call it that. Even the word inclusion, let's include all the things we want. Let's not say, oh, I have to sacrifice those things so I could be a good worker.
Mhm.
Let's include it in the full expression of life. Because as you and I know, every day, every week, every month, every year is going to go by. And then are we going to say that we lived in the full expression of that our heart wants to? Are we doing all the things that we want to? And so what I'm hearing from you is that it's not necessarily lazy, although it's an easy word for us to use. You just want more I guess, diversity in your life, in a weekly basis, not in like, oh, 6 months from now, I'll take a holiday and do that. No, I want to do that every week. I want to go out in nature every week. I want to, be with your wife all the way through, going to all the appointments. Like, how many folks out there that I know that your partner doesn't come with you? I even know people that didn't make it to the birth of their child. I mean, so that's like going far extreme, but just imagine you've been there, all the appointments together. I don't know if it was every single one, but most of them I know, because you and I talk, and you're out there doing it together. Which is what being a mom and dad is all about. So for me, I mean, I think, so what a blessing, first off, celebrating that. Cause, some folks out there might be thinking, that must be nice. It was impossible for us. I have to make money. I have to do those things. And I think Jovanni and I are not denying that. But then what's the flip of that? How do we design it? And this is where it takes a step back. How do we design it so it's not that way? How do you design it? So, and if you ask yourself this, and also this is where we teach some of these techniques, then you too can design a life where you can have that and keep making money.
Yeah. And in today's world, it's easier than ever, with what's happened the last year or so of just the shift in businesses and working from home. Like, the flexibilities out there for people, and it's kind of like that saying, or it's like what you want, you'll make time for, right? If it matters to you, you'll make time for it, and if it doesn't, then you won't. So it's kind of coming to that, and yeah, like I use lazy is the word I used to use. I don't necessarily use that very often anymore to describe myself. I do use efficient. I'm like, okay, like what's the fastest way? What's the fastest and best way to get it? And I'm not a perfectionist, which I used to think that was a bad thing too. But I've noticed that the people that are perfectionists, they take too long, or they take a long time to make decisions or to do something because it has to be perfect. I'm like, no, let's get it out. All right, let's get it out. And okay, because nothing's gonna, it's not life or death for the most part. Most decisions you're gonna do or whatever you're creating, it's not life or death. And so get it out there, get their feedback from whatever it is that you're putting it out there for, and then reiterate it, and then be like, okay, that didn't work very well, or that worked surprisingly well. I don't think I need to do any much more to it. And you can always tweak things, but yeah, it's taken a while for the reframes to come into, like, the things I used to think that was negative are actually good things, as far as like being like an entrepreneur, having your own business, because it allows me to be flexible. Like I think and I can actually say this these days, that I'm a pretty flexible person. If something comes at me, like, oh, there's a roadblock, well, we'll just step over this way, like just move this way. Like, it's a lot easier. And as I notice and I talk to more people, like, sometimes that's harder for people to have that flexibility in themselves. And I used to think that was a negative for me, among other things. And like, I'm just reframing, and your reframes, and talking to other people, reframing things. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, these are actually, quality quality, what am I looking for? Characteristics to have, as like a business owner and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's taking time, but getting back to that more business, more life. It's like, really, what do you want? Do you want to be working all the time and not having time for whatever's important to you, whether it's family, a hobby, or whatever that may be? Like, what is important to you? And how else can you get there? Right? We always talk about how you have that old dirt road that they closed down a few years ago, and then you have the highway. Like, which one do you want to take? Maybe you're like off-roading, and you have a vehicle that can take you there, and it's fun for you, and like, okay, and it's a smooth ride in your specialized vehicle. Or maybe you just like the freeway and just like coasting through and going 90 miles an hour or something like that. Like, what's up to you? Like, what is it to you? If both roads get you where you want to go, what kind of ride do you want to have? Right? And so, yeah, it's just what matters most to you, I guess.
So key. And the key, I think the word that comes to my tongue right now is choice. How many of us, and I know there were times in my life that I didn't feel I had a choice. I thought, and it was a belief. I believed that this is the way it had to be. It's just hard. That no pain, no gain was just driven into me. And now what you're saying is, it's a choice. Do you want to take the bumpy road? And maybe that's fun for you, and you want to do that. okay. And maybe there's an easier way for you to get there, but how do you want the journey to be? Because in the end, and what's most important, you look at so many people that I've read, biographies and autobiographies, and, even just one, like, I don't have it. It's been a while since I read it, but that whole letter that Steve Jobs wrote before he passed away, he did say in one part of it, and I'm paraphrasing because it's not the exact words he maybe said, but he said he wished he would have gave more time to love. He did so many things, and accomplished so many successes in his career, but then to want to have more time to love, I think that's one thing I don't want to look back on my life and say that I missed that time with that relationship. And I'll tell you, like, that's probably the thing when people ask me what I'm grateful for, because gratitude is a big part. It's our tagline, all that. And the first thing, a majority of the time, like sometimes new things will pop up in that current moment, but overwhelming majority of the time, it's relationships.
Yeah. There's I think it was a nurse that either written a book or just did like a questionnaire to a lot of elderly people on their deathbed, like that were dying, and asking like, what the things, like the 5 things that you regret or you would have liked to, and like the top ones was always, work less, spend more time with family, say I love you more often, and things of those nature. Not, I don't think any of the people said work more,
Make more money.
make more money. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's, and I try to learn from other people's mistakes, right? I think you've said this before, and I think it comes from Jim Rohn as well. He's like, wouldn't it be amazing if somebody can make money by telling all the bad things they did in their life, so people can learn from it, right? It's like, but it's just like asking people, like, if you have the ability to learn from other people's mistakes, and then you don't have to go down that road. Sometimes you have to make those, I guess, those mistakes. It's kind of like the story you say about life smacking you in the face, right? You kind of just have to make them sometimes to wake up and like, oh, okay, shouldn't be doing that. But if you can take from people's mistakes, like even just listen to your story of like how much you used to work, and missing out on your family, your health, and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, like, well, I don't need to go down that road. I don't need to work, 80 plus hours a week. I don't need to gain a lot of weight. I don't need that. Like, okay, Steve's a good example of like what not to do at that point, and then look at you now, like, okay, that's a good example. Work less, spend more time with your family, do some good in the world. Like, so I try to look at people and find those things and be like, yeah, I want to do some more of that. Ooh, I don't want any of that. I don't. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And then that comes back to the choice.
yeah.
It's 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 so true. And I just remember when a guy that I worked with, he was a coworker when I was high school. And this was an adult man. He was full time. I was like part time high school job, and it did become a full time job moving into the beginning of my college years. And he was always running a side business. His name's Carlos Aparicio, if he's listening or whatever. But old time friend. We don't talk that much anymore, but he said something that I'll never forget. And he says a few things I'll never forget, but this one was big. He said, Steve, smart people learn from their mistakes. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, and then he said, but then you have to remember this: wise people learn from other people's mistakes. And he said the reason I would differentiate between smart and wise, he said, it might be thinking that those are the same words, but in this definition, the wise people are getting more time quicker. They're getting where they want quicker. Because it costs time and energy to make those mistakes and learn from them, which are going to happen. That's the other thing he said. You're going to make mistakes, so be smart, learn from them, and then make new decisions. And then he said, but if you want to get quicker, if you want to learn things quicker than I did, because he was senior than me, he said, then learn from my mistakes. Let me share you some of my mistakes so that you don't have to duplicate that same mistake, and then now you can get there faster, younger. And so it's kind of even a father figure in a way to me, because just being able to have an adult man at my young age give me some of those things and some of those advice. And he definitely I could say one of my early mentors, and that's exactly what you're saying there. And then there's one other saying that popped in my mind while you're saying that. on the other side, the whole thing of end of life, that nursing book that you're talking about. I just remember my grandfather, my dad's dad, he would always say, you don't see a U-Haul behind the hearse.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point we should make a t-shirt of that, because that's kind of like the more business, more life, it's like, it's not about all the things we collect. It's about the life that we live. And yeah, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing to want to go have fun and to do things. And maybe some of those toys are going to make enjoyment, and toys, a lot of them just bring us together too, right? Because we can, play games. We have a lot of games, board games, card games, other things in our house, like more than I ever had. We had some games growing up, but we just it seems like we're always getting a new game. But it's fun to like learn a new game with our family and have another way to engage. And so those games, yeah, they cost money, some of them that we buy, but it's pretty cheap actually. It's a lot cheaper than a lot of other things you can spend money on. And we also get that engagement. We get to play together, learn about each other. So it's so yeah. So I'm not saying don't spend money and don't get things, but do it with purpose. Back to what I think you're bringing to a big thing, Jovanni, is like, what would you like? How do you want to live your life? And then give yourself permission. And I guess I would give a closing thought on this for me is, it is that, what would you like? And then the key thing is, if you don't know how you could have it, because maybe you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, right. Oh, must be nice. If you have that kind of feeling, okay. And I'm sorry that's where it is. And even honoring where you are, you're probably a committed person to provide for yourself and your family, and awesome for all of those things. And no disrespect by any of these things I'm saying, please. But what I would love for you is to say, well, ask yourself, how could I do it differently, if you would want to? And then two, if you don't know how, ask someone else, and we're open, ask us, but then it could be someone else. We're okay. I think a big part for Jovanni and I, we want to invoke this in you, whether we're the ones that help you or not. If we're there to help you and it works out that way, awesome. And if not, hopefully you find your mentor, someone that can help you get there. Because I always say is something simple. And if it is, then go do it. And then you have to ask yourself, can I do it? Yeah. So is it simple, and can I do it? And if the answer to either of those are a no, and you don't know how to change that, you don't know how to simplify, or you don't know how to do it, then ask for help. And that's one thing that took me a while to be vulnerable enough, because I always thought people are going to look at me and judge me. And so sometimes I would hide my vulnerability and not ask for help. And I've found that I actually have more of the life I want. I'm happier. I have more friends and more relationships, because I actually just say, hey, I don't know how to do that. Can you help me? And it comes. So I guess I always love to end with one thing. So Jovanni, do you have like one thought, if someone's thinking that and they're like, well, I just got to make money, or I just got to do this? What is that one thing that you would share with someone to start this process of choosing their life versus just letting it happen?
I would say, if you think that you can't have it, to really question where that comes from, because I didn't think I could have this kind of. I thought I was going to be stuck at a dead end job like my whole life. I have a college degree, but I didn't use it. I was a C student, like all the way through like all through school in general, and a lot of limiting beliefs and doubts about myself and all this other stuff. So I'm not where I want to be yet, but that doesn't mean I'm not happy where I'm at. I know there's always more space to grow and become better of who I am. And so I would just ask people, if you feel like you can't have this, or what Steve and I are talking about is way outside of your reach, or it's BS or anything like that, I would ask yourself, where's that coming from? Why do I believe that? Whose belief is that? Because more likely it's not actually your belief in it. And then if you're not sure, just like you said, reach out to somebody. whether it's us or somebody on YouTube or a friend or somebody else, or a friend of a friend, doesn't matter. Like, reach out to somebody to help you, or as you always say, find somebody who's doing what you want or has a lifestyle that you want and ask them, model them, see what they're doing. Because then that will help you get to where you want and see that it's possible. And if one person is doing what you want to do, that means it's possible. That means that they're doing it. That means you can do it, because we're not different. We're all human. We all have the same capabilities. It all comes down to belief. So I would leave you with that. Ask where that thought and belief is coming from, and then destroy it for the better and get what you really want in life.
Yeah, and on that, and you can honor what that thought, because I'll just add to that is that don't beat yourself up on that, because whatever that belief has been has gotten you to this point. So part of what we do with our work is honoring that part of you that got you to this point, that made you the man or woman that you are right now. And now what would I like? And then you can make change. So I think that's beautiful. I appreciate you having another episode with me here, Jovanni, and we always have these amazing conversations. So I look forward to our next one, and maybe the next one we do, you'll be a dad. Will be official. So enjoy that process and enjoy all the time with the your newborn baby. It's an amazing process the first year to see literally your baby goes from not being able to move around on its own, and you're holding and taking every bit of care for it. And then not that a year later you're not taking care of your baby, you are now, they're moving around, and they're it's just wild how the first 12 months, I mean, there's growth through the whole process. And even as we said on this call, we're still growing, but that first 12 months it's really crazy for me, like how much they change. So anyway, so enjoy every minute of that. And thank you all for listening. I hope, let us know what aha you got from this. Let us know what you'd like to hear from future episodes. And just remember, as always, right? Choose gratitude and create freedom. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. And then on top of that, I want to give you a really big gift. And it truly is. We want to give so much value. We have an offering. It's a program called Clear Path to Customers. It's the same way that we attract wow clients, and only working with the right people, the people we want to. And it's transformed my business into millions more in revenue with the right people and my clients. And we're doing it absolutely free. So you can go to stevenapolitan.com and grab that. You just got to put in your information. We'll send it to you promptly. And that again is on stevenapolitan.com. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.